Welcome to the Running Refresh Podcast, where hot takes and debates on the sport of running are more than welcome in the studio.
I have a very special guest, my high school coach, Justin Darrow, ran at UW-Oshkosh in Wisconsin, everything from the 800 to the steeplechase. He's now the coach of St. Cloud Apollo High School and still continues to train in Minnesota. And all right, Justin, introduce yourself. Where are you from? What do you want the people to know about you?
Well, I guess you covered a lot of it. Ran at UW-Oshkosh, started as an 800 runner. That's what I was in high school. I was a 100, 200, 400 kid until my cross-country coach decided, you know what, you're not quite fast enough at the 400, so let's put you in the 800. Went to state, and then just kind of went from there. Then found out in college, again, not quite fast enough in the 800, so why not do a steeplechase? That wouldn't hurt, right?
Awesome.
I did the steeplechase. I know, Logan, you do the steeplechase as well. You would smoke me in that right now. My claim to fame in the steeplechase is I've never face planted in the water.
Wow.
But at conference, I 3-point stanced it on the first water jump. So every time it came around, they slow clapped me.
Well done.
So, yeah.
And then what do you teach now? So you're a teacher now. What do you teach?
I teach biomedical science and Minnesota wildlife, which is pretty much 10th graders, some 11th graders in there.
Okay, awesome. So I'm your host, Logan Lummel, future teacher and coach, current runner, ex-soccer player, hoping to provide some unique perspectives on running. This is my first perspective from my high school coach, Justin Darrow. Post running-related content every Sunday at noon. Follow on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, at Running Refresh. Leave a review on Apple or Spotify. 5 stars on Spotify. Smash the like button. Follow, subscribe. All the above. So this episode, I'm going to just outline it quick. First, we're going to have a new segment, Coaching Quotes. We're going to switch it up. Instead of interviewing first, we're going to have a new segment. And then I'm going to interview Justin. And then at the end, bring it home with rapid refresh like I always like to do. So this first segment called Coaching Quotes is a segment where I ask a Wisconsinite that coaches high schoolers about which coach said which quote. This segment features quotes from Sean Brosnan, the Newberry Park coach, the best high school team ever, Justin Darrow, Apollo, maybe the second best high school team ever, Vince Lombardi, legendary coach of the Green Bay Packers, and others that may not be coaches. So that's what I have for you. So first quote, and that day, for no particular reason, I decided to go for a little run. Who said that?
God, that would, if I had to guess, I was probably me on Strava.
You think it was you on Strava?
Yeah.
Well, you might look like him right now, but it was Forrest Gump.
Yeah, that's who I'm modeling after right now. No.
Yeah. Are you planning a run across the country anytime soon?
No, I might be going to Eugene for a marathon, though.
Okay. Yeah, see, it may not be a coach. I threw a curveball at you right away. Yeah. All right, next one. 420 is not fast for a high school mile. Who said that?
Ooh, that one I don't know. 420 is not fast for a high school mile?
It was a very controversial statement made by...
I could see that being controversial.
So one of the coaches that I named first.
The Newberry Park coach, because they have 5 guys underneath that.
Yeah, so Newberry Park coach in an interview kind of said that. His explanation was, 420, it's, pretty good, but it's no time is necessarily fast. It's just all about, getting better. That's kind of how he explained it away. But that's what he said. He said 420 is not fast for a high school mile. Next quote. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Who said that?
I guess is Vince Lombardi.
That is Vince Lombardi. First, you're a Packers fan. Can you explain that quick?
Well, born basically in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So, I'm not just a Packers fan, Logan. I'm a Packers owner. Let's correct that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you can see it. Well, I can't show you right now because it's packed away and a couple other things. But you guys, Logan and others, have given me many, many different Packers / Vikings gifts over the years. I still have them all, by the way.
Perfect. All right, next quote. I don't get nervous. There is no such thing as long as I poop, he said something else before the race. I will be fine. Who do you think said that?
This
one,
for whatever reason, brings, and I don't think this is right, but this would have to be, and he's probably going to murder me if he hears this. I would guess Sam Brewer. If you know
Sam Brewer is not my high school teammate. Sam Brewer. It was actually Kevin Hart.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Kevin Hart said this in a Runner's World magazine or website, the blog. He was training for a marathon. They kind of did like a whole story on him. But yeah, he said, I don't get nervous. There's no such thing. As long as I poop before the race, I'll be fine.
There's nothing truer than that, though.
Yeah.
Nothing like not making it to the porta potty before a marathon.
Has that ever happened to you?
It almost happened to me at Madison this fall.
We'll get to that later. Who said this? Cross country is about being a part of a family.
I say that a lot because that's one of my goals is make our team at Apollo High School feel like a family, or not even just feel like family, but be a family. So I'm going to guess myself.
Wow, it's a little narcissistic, but it is true. You did say that. That's a true statement. So do you want to elaborate on that at all? What does that mean? Cross country is about being a part of a family.
So as a high school coach, I'm competing against getting kids out from other sports. And when you tell a kid, hey, do you want to go run a 5K for fun? Usually they're going to look at you and be like, what are you talking about? First off, what's a kilometer? Why are there 5 of them on one of our shirts? But once you get kids out, they realize it's not just the running part. It's the games and things after. Like we did free run Fridays. We went to movies this summer as a team. It's building that camaraderie and that trust in those relationships. And once you have that built, the kids love it. They return every year because they have somebody that's not judging them. So it's a family.
I'd also like to say I was never a part of that family, actually. Can you talk about that?
I would have killed to have you as a cross-country runner in high school. I've even approached you a number of times, I believe. But again, I think, and you probably could remember this, I'm never going to recruit like another kid that's currently in another sport. As long as they're in an activity, that's something that's good. But yes, you should have been a cross-country runner in high school. Again, Logan was a very successful soccer player too at Apollo too. Yeah. So I can't take that away.
I figured it out in the end. It just took a while. It took like 5 more years or something.
Hey, and I just figured it out before you because I was a soccer player before I switched to cross-country too, right?
Yeah. I always remember talking to you about that. That was always interesting. Next quote. Winning isn't everything. It is the only thing. Who said that?
That, again, I would guess is probably Vince Lombardi.
It is Vince Lombardi. What do you think about that statement? Winning isn't everything. It is the only thing.
See, that's where I disagree a little bit. Like I could see that with a professional athlete, especially like on a football team type of thing, because his job relies on the Packers winning. Whereas in like high school running and even collegiate running, depending on the levels, it's more about breaking your own barriers, getting to new levels that you never thought you could get to yourself. Some of my best runners never won a race, and that's okay.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it means so much more, especially running, than just the end result. The beauty is like in the process.
Yes.
And you know that. Yeah. So next quote. There's a couple right answers here, especially, if you know what I'm talking about. So you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Who said that?
God, I know this quote because I hear it all the time. And I've even used it, I'm pretty sure, on one of my Strava runs. This one, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know on this one.
You're drawing a blank. Yeah. Are you not a fan of this show?
I am a fan of the show, but I don't know. It's all the pressure.
You miss it. It's just all the pressure. We'll take a shot. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. If you don't take a shot, we don't know.
That's true. You're not a coach. I can see you saying that. You should be a coach at some point. I can see you saying that. So I'm going to go with you.
No, I did not. Maybe I'm saying it now,
Yeah.
but it was Wayne Gretzky first.
Okay.
He kind of popularized it. And then it was Michael Scott from The Office.
Yeah.
So Michael Scott, he's like, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. He's like quoting the quote.
A long time. It's a great show, though.
Yeah. All right, last one.
Okay.
You better know this. We talking about practice?
I do know that one. That's Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. Do you have any thoughts on Allen Iverson or basketball in general?
I'm not a big basketball fan. I'll watch during the March Madness. I know AI because he was big when I was growing up. That's dating me a little bit. Incredible athlete. Maybe not necessarily the greatest role model when it comes to different things. But practice is where you get better. And I mean, that's especially true of running events or running sports. If you don't practice, you get what you put in, basically.
So you're talking about practice.
So I'm talking about practice.
Okay. All right. So that concludes the coaching quote segment. That was kind of fun. Next, I'm just going to interview Coach Justin. What can you tell us about Piper?
So Piper is my 1.5-year-old golden retriever. She is a big pain in the butt at sometimes, but she's kind of our unofficial cross-country mascot. Comes from our summer runs. She's a heck of an endurance athlete. I got her up to 5.5 mile long runs now.
Wow.
At 7-minute pace with her dragging me. But yeah, so she's my golden retriever. Just bit into my alpha flies that I just got about 3 weeks ago. Took a chunk of the foam out, so not overly happy with her at the moment. But yeah, still love her to death.
Yeah, that is rough. What breed? So the people know.
Golden retriever.
Golden retriever. Okay. And then can you tell us about your hair? I don't know if it's fading a little bit, but what happened there? What's the story behind that?
Yep. So if you can see, my hair is starting to fade. I make a deal with my cross-country runners. It started about 2 years ago that if we get one boy and one girl to state for the AA state tournament for Minnesota, they get to do something to me. So last year they threw me into the Apollo Pond in the middle of November, and it was like 10 degrees. The Apollo Pond is like a toxic sludge pit, so you don't.
It is.
This year, we decided to either shave my head completely bald, and I told them, I'll think about that. And then they're like, well, let's just dye your hair and give you frosted tips. So we had a 8th grade girl, Zilly Lensner, that made it, and a 10th grade boy, Elijah Preisler, that made it to state. So one of my track coaches, I shouldn't say mine, but co-head coach, Jill Lip, dyed my hair in the middle of the school day. So I have frosted.
Well, in the middle of the school day.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that season, though. It was a great season. Mm-hmm. What is a PR bar?
All right. So this is one of the things I took from a coach that I learned a lot from. Unfortunately, passed away recently. Ken Brunner from Sugar River, which is in Wisconsin. A PR bar is a personal record bar. So if you break your PR in a cross-country race, you get basically a normal size candy bar. It's always random on what it is. Track, if it's a relay, you get a fun size bar since you're part of a group. And individually you get a normal size bar. So it's just a reward for breaking your own barriers.
Yeah, I always enjoyed getting PR bar. And often we'd actually, you'd have it like wrapped up with the time and the race too.
Yep. So I'd have your name, your race time. Sometimes I'll put the event on there, and the wrappings, if you ever notice, were old biology worksheets.
Well, that's a way to reuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I strategically split some relays to get an extra candy bar here and there.
I'm sure.
Just maybe. I don't know. I'm sure it's happened before, though.
Oh, it's definitely. Well, now I don't know if we did it when you were around, Logan. We now have a PR cake. Did we do that?
We had like a PR cake, I think, my last year.
The first year was your last year, and I think you guys had to break 100 and some PRs as a distance group, and you guys did that.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's great. Like, you keep track of it for everybody too. Like, That's probably so time consuming. And I know you've had like managers help with that, but yeah, that's awesome.
Pull up every single race you ever ran in high school for me. Every single time. I still have it on my Google Drive. If you're interested, I can
That's
send it
awesome.
to you, by the way.
So, what is your most memorable race as an athlete?
Whew.
You had to pick one.
I only get to pick one. This one, there's two of them, but I'll do this one mainly because there's been movies made out of it. I ran the Boston Marathon in 2013. That was the year of the bombings. I was fortunate enough to cross the finish line before any of the bombs went off. But I was there with a group of college friends that I ran against and with. And we were walking across this park to get to our hotel by Boston Logan. And a little boy came up to us and basically grabbed my wife at the time and said, "Hey, what were those loud bangs in the city? Were those fireworks?" And we had no idea. We assumed they were fireworks. Got to the hotel a couple minutes later and found about 100 people in the lobby gathered around one TV. And it turned out it was the first bomb had gone off. So that's probably my biggest memory. Again, I was very fortunate to be across the finish line, and all my friends were as well. But we have pictures of one of our friends spectating in front of a Marathon World Sports store where one of the bombs went off of about 20 minutes before the bomb. So that's probably my biggest memory from a race.
Okay. All right. Is there any other race you'd like to talk about? I mean, that's very tragic. That's tremendous.
Probably not the most uplifting.
Anything a little more?
I would say the best,
or not necessarily more memorable, but a little more positive to bring us out of that.
I would say probably my senior year. I qualified for state in the 800. First year running the 800. There's an old school website. It's not really run, I don't think, anymore, called DieStat. Everybody that's the old Let's Run for high school.
Yeah.
And everybody was making bets on it. And a couple of people put me in the medaling spot. I had no idea what I was doing at state with strategy and things like that. But ended up finishing fifth in my heat. I missed medaling by 0.05 of a second to a different heat. We didn't have prelims and finals. It was just 3 heats of finals. But I helped box in a kid that was a 150 800 runner. He didn't get out like he should. So I kind of helped him not win in a way.
You had an effect on the race.
I had an effect on the race. And it was just fun because we came around the last 100 meters basically 5 wide.
Wow. Yeah, that's rare for an 800.
Yeah.
And then how about as a coach? What's, a favorite race of yours or a memorable race of yours?
That's a hard one. I mean, I could pick a couple.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a hard one because I could pick Hamlin where you face planted across the finish line. So that was a good one. I would say, honestly, my favorite race as a coach was honestly watching you in the 800. You had a little bit of a rough section trying to double in the 4 and the 8. Didn't quite make it in the 4, came back, you and Hamzi. But then at state, you destroyed it in the prelims. And then when you came across, again, about 200, 150 meters to go in the state finals, and flew by the last 2 guys to take second and state runner up. I mean, when I was in the crowd of the other Apollo family, it was amazing to watch. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy who took first did pretty well that year.
It's hard to be the national champion.
Yeah. he was like national champion or something like that in the 800, but I digress. What inspired you to teach and coach?
Honestly, what inspired me to coach was my high school coaches, both my track and my cross country coaches, Clay Reisler and Dan Slumpkus. We love them called Slumpkus Slumpy. It's just giving back to the community. There's so much that you learn from the kids themselves. This is going to be my 10th year coaching. I'm still learning new things, but it's just giving back. Those coaches took time out of their lives to go to the hills on Saturday to help me get stronger with speed work or strength work. They took time to go pick up food for us before meets or after meets. So it's just giving back. And again, it's just also being connected to the running community still.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, you've been an inspiration. I'd like you to know. You have good examples, bad examples, coaches, teachers, and definitely a reason why I'm student teaching right now and, planning to coach soccer in the summer, stuff like that. So just like you to know that, right? That's why I'm having you on the podcast. I think,
I appreciate
people.
it. And I appreciate everything that you said. Again, it's been so much fun watching you grow, not just at the high school level, but the collegiate level too.
Yeah. Thanks. What challenges have you faced to continue to train for, marathons, 5Ks, mile races, even when you hop in unattached? And then why do you continue to train and run?
There's a couple parts to that. Running is just part of who I am. It's how I relieve stress. It's how I challenge myself, find out who I really am. There are challenges on staying in shape because my high school athletes or student athletes, they take priority. So oftentimes I'll have practice from 3:30 to 5:30, wait at the high school for parents to come pick up the kids at 6:15, get home, let the dog out, and I still have a 9-mile or 10-mile run to do. So I don't eat until 9 o'clock at night sometimes, or even later. So there's some challenges with that. But in the end, it's just finding more about myself and then showing the high school kids that just because I'm old, my 8th grade girl.
You're old?
Yeah, I'm old. My 8th grade runner, Zilly, and freshman Lizzie, they called me for 2 years old running man in Chinese at practice for their Chinese immersion. I just found out this year that they've been calling me that. I'm even in their phone as old running man. But it's just to show that running is a lifelong sport.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I definitely see it on Strava. You're running all times a day. Maybe sometimes you're even running at practice with, different groups. It's cool to see. It's cool to see that, you're still doing it just for the good of the sport, love of the sport. And then can you summarize your coaching philosophy to us in any way?
Okay. Give me a second.
It's a hard question.
Yeah. Basically, my coaching philosophy is that I'm there to help to help the student athletes find out who they are as a person. You learn more about yourself, not just through successes, but through failures. And I'm there as just like a resource. I use this in cross country all the time this year because we had some busing issues. I'm just the bus driver. The runners tell me where they want to go, what they want to achieve. And that's different for everybody. I had you as a runner where you were ultra competitive. You wanted a state title. You wanted to medal at state. You wanted to show everybody what you were capable of. That's not every runner, though, on your team, especially at the high school level. I have runners that are out there just to make friends, and that's okay, too. And I don't want those runners to be left behind. So basically, my coaching philosophy is to create an environment where everybody feels comfortable, create that family atmosphere, and where everybody can grow, not just as a runner, but as a person.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with what you said. I'd also say that you do a good job of meeting athletes where they are, physically and mentally, kind of like you're saying. So even though I was very ultra competitive, I was also focused on soccer, and I wasn't ready to run 60 miles a week, even though I maybe, should have been to do the best I could have, or 50 or whatever it was, or, run every day or run more, whatever it may be. But you kind of met me where I was, knew I was really ultra competitive, had me do some good, workouts, but kept the mileage lower because soccer is more priority, and, kind of understood that, and then gave me the resources to still grow, but then still enjoy the sport. And then, later found out how much I really did enjoy the sport, as I kind of grew into it. And not just me, other alumni like Beal Wheel, ran a 23:30 8K this fall, which is ridiculous. And his progression has been, admirable too. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's kind of even going to the coaching philosophy. High school is just a stepping stone. Like, I don't want any of my runners to peak at high school. That's not the goal. If that is a goal, I want them to tell me that. So looking at you, like, you continuously improve. Beal, again, God, I wish I had him more than just the year that I had him. Comes to Apollo, and he can attest to this because I know Logan's trying to get him on this podcast. I think he was right around like a 5-minute mile coming from his prior school to Apollo, and then basically in one season drops to 4 upper 20s type of thing, a state qualifier. And then again at cross country this fall at St. Thomas, just drops remarkable times, breaks a school record. Couldn't happen to a greater kid too. But just again, progressed throughout college.
Yeah. And then what is your opinion on soccer players running track?
Well, coming from a former soccer player, and I've actually had a number of other coaches tell me this, and I might get some flack for this, but soccer players, generally speaking, make some of the best track athletes. Because they get a lot of mileage in their runs, depending on what position, especially if you're a midfielder. They get a lot of speed work if they're forwards or again mids. Because, again, my high school team strategy was just pop the ball over the top and then you better fly to the ball. We didn't have much strategy on our team, but that was basically what we did.
And I had, Stephanie Brokaw on the podcast, and she was a really competitive soccer player before, she became All-American and pro runner. So, I mean, that's just another example, I guess.
Yep. I have a kid on my team. We co-opted this last year from St. Cloud Christian that has a ton of potential.
For sure.
Soccer player as well. In fact, they just won the Christian Athletic League title this past fall.
Awesome. All right. So that kind of concludes the interview portion of the episode. Next, I have Rapid Refresh, a segment where I ask my guests too many questions for them to answer in a timely manner. Maybe I've already been doing that, but I'm just going to do it some more. When did you become a Vikings fan?
Never. Refuse. Vomit.
So you're not a Vikings fan?
No, not at all.
Don't you teach in Minnesota?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of flack this year. The Packers aren't doing too hot.
Yeah, Packers are not doing too hot. What do you have to say about that?
We want to try to share the wealth a little bit. I mean, Vikings fans, like, you'll see it this fall. Whenever a Vikings fan, you know why they don't eat cereal, right?
No.
Because whenever Vikings get too close to the bowl, they choke.
Ooh. What a dig. What a dig. Sorry for all you Vikings fans that had to hear that out there.
Sorry.
All right. What is a bubbler?
What is a bubbler? Oh, it's the most amazing thing. It's the thing you go in the hallway, you press the button down, and water spurts out. It bubbles out.
I don't believe you. Do you actually say that?
Yes, that's a bubbler. That's not
you seriously say that. Like someone's taking a drink from the water fountain, and you say they're taking a drink from the bubbler. I
will correct my students. They'll be like, "Hey, can I go to the water fountain?" I'll just look at them. Why? Are you gonna throw a penny in there and make a wish? And they look at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what you do with a water fountain. You admire it and you throw a penny in there. You go drink from a bubbler."
All right. Who has more lakes, Wisconsin or Minnesota?
Ooh, I've seen this debate. I am going to go with, unfortunately, I'm going to side with Minnesota on this one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It is Minnesota.
It is Minnesota.
We have better lakes.
I think this just became like the Wisconsin versus Minnesota segment, but.
Nope, that's okay.
Favorite place to run?
Ooh, favorite place to run. I would have to say Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Coeur d'Alene, can you explain why?
I did an Ironman out there, Coeur d'Alene, a couple of years ago. Regardless of the fact that I bombed in the marathon part, where I usually run 3:30 for an Ironman marathon, I ran a 5:30. It was about 102 degrees, but just the mountains. There's a giant mountain-fed lake or snow-fed lake in the area. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah. What is a stop and go light?
So this one is a Wisconsin thing. I've actually never heard this used in Wisconsin. From what I understand, it's
really?
A stoplight. Yeah, it's a stoplight that is horizontal.
Okay.
But I've never heard it. I call it a stoplight.
Okay. So you're normal.
So I'm normal, yeah.
Okay. Is custard the same thing as ice cream?
I would say no. Because if I go to McDonald's and get an ice cream cone, that's not like a Culver's.
Oh, no.
Culver's light years ago.
Way better.
Yeah.
I saw something on your Twitter about Quick Trip and Quick Trip.
Oh, yeah. So in Wisconsin and Minnesota, Quick Trip is KWIK. However, there's apparently a rival company called Quick Trip, which is QWIK. They're an imposter. Don't go to that one. Go to the one with the K.
Okay. Favorite biology lesson / topic or science lesson?
Favorite lesson in just general biology, I would talk about probably evolution and like vestigial structures. So things that you have that really don't have a use anymore, like a tailbone. The students love that. And there's a lot of good examples.
If you could get rid of any state, what would it be and why?
That's an easy one. Probably Minnesota. Actually, no.
No, you're lying.
I wouldn't get rid of Minnesota. Being a Wisconsinite, fellow Wisconsinites would probably be disappointed if I said that. They might agree, but I have to get rid of Illinois.
Illinois, really?
Yeah.
Illinois is kind of mid, I'll be honest. I mean, that's where I am right now. Yeah. But again, I just got to say Iowa. Just to bug my roommate. There's no other reason. I actually like Iowa.
Iowa's not bad. I've ran there's a couple good marathons in Iowa, but Illinois, I just like. We got Chicago. Yeah. You got the Bears. When have they been good?
Yeah. Favorite music / artist genre?
So I listen to pretty much everything. Genre right now, I'm in a country mode at the moment. So, but artist probably Garth Brooks. Our college cross country team was huge on Garth Brooks. Queen, I know not country, but Queen was a big one. And then you can't go wrong with our theme song, which was Miley Cyrus "Party in the USA."
That's a banger right there.
It is a banger, yeah.
Who are your biggest supporters? Shout them out. Or anybody you want to shout out.
My biggest supporters, I would say, is definitely my family. My family has driven from Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is about 5 hours away, to watch a high school cross-country meet and see me for about 3 hours and then drive 5 hours back. So my parents by far are some of my biggest supporters, as well as my brother and his wife. But other than that, like I have amazing alumni that graduate from Apollo and the families. I've had runners' families bring me Thanksgiving meals since I wasn't able to get back to my own family, or Christmas, or runners. Julia Carls, I believe, one year showed up outside my apartment with a couple of others to say like Merry Christmas and things like that. So it's my parents, the alumni, and their families, and again, the current runners as well. Awesome.
That's great to hear. And then is there anything that you wish that I'd asked you, or anything you want to talk about? We have the chance.
So I'm trying to think. I had a couple good questions for you.
You had a question for me.
Yeah, I had a question for you. But it's escaping me right now, so I don't know if I'll have time to think of it. I guess as a high school coach, and I have some kids that are looking at running potentially in the future, Division II, Division I, or even D3. How would you describe the lifestyle of a Division I athlete to the high school athlete out there?
At least with running. Now, soccer is a little different because I played soccer and now I'm doing cross country and track. At least as a distance athlete, there's really no off season as a Division I athlete. I have ran every day for the last, I couldn't tell you the last day I didn't run, and that's kind of the expectation, right? If you're not hurt, you should be running. Your breaks aren't really like necessarily, they're more like mental breaks, right? But you're still getting up, running, turning the doorknob, stuff like that. So running is a little different. Now, if you're sprinting, you'll probably have a much lighter fall. But I raced all fall, and now I have 2 meets before winter break, and then I'll be expected to do workouts, all through winter break. And then, Christmas, I might have like a tempo or something like that, but I'll have to find a way to get that stuff done. But I love it because I'm super competitive and I enjoy that grind. Soccer, I had in a team sport. Now I say team sport. Cross country is a team sport. I learned that this fall. But track can be a little more individual. But when you're like on a soccer team, there's like a, social aspect to it that can be really stressful. Especially the higher the level you compete, the more stressful that's going to be. And just managing, being a part of a team and like social standards or whatever it may be. So like, I would just say, the higher the level, the more stress it will bring. But stress can be a good thing. It's just like, how much can you handle? I think, at least from my perspective, that would be my thoughts.
And then I guess I have another question for you as a Minnesotan. How do I word this? Like, how do you deal with the Vikings every year? Like,
how do I deal with the Vikings every year? Well, first, you have to not pay attention. See, I'm not like a diehard football fan, but you have to not pay attention. But they'll start to get your hopes up at some point, and then you're drawn in, and then you pay attention. This is kind of how it goes. Now I'm just waiting for the point where they just disappoint me. So, the Vikings right now, right, they're 10-2, right? They're almost becoming a favorite, you might say. But now they're going to get like a first round exit or something. And then I'm going to look like a clown for like watching the whole game start to finish. But yeah, that's how I deal with it.
And I know like my current high school athletes will watch this and listen to this. What advice would you give to a high school athlete, whether it's track or cross country? If you had to give them 1 or 2 pieces of advice about anything, what would you give them?
I would say, first, just enjoy it. Like, it's a great time, especially if you have Coach Justin, right? Enjoy that freedom and, your time as a high school athlete. Secondly, my advice would be just be as consistent as you possibly can be, whether that's running, sleeping, school, eating, just be consistent, strive, to set some goals for the week, the day, the month, the season, and just think back what you will have to do to achieve those goals and just be as consistent as you can to achieve those goals. That would be my advice.
Okay. And then I'll give you one last one because I want to see what your response to this is. Because I got looked at really weird when I moved to the cities. So I lived in Minneapolis for a year doing grad school. And I needed some money. So I stopped at a gas station, went in there. What do you call the machine that you get money from?
The register?
Not the
or
register.
The ATM?
So what was it?
The ATM?
So where I'm from, it's not an ATM. So I walked into this gas station and couldn't find where the machine was. There was no sign. So I went up to the cashier and said, "Hey, where's your time machine?"
You're lying.
Nope. In north central Wisconsin or northeastern Wisconsin, there's a brand of ATMs called Time, T-Y-M-E. I grew up only knowing them called time machines, not ATMs. And guess what the cashier did to me?
You laughed?
Laughed and said, "We don't have a time machine here."
Oh my God.
We're like, and at this point I knew what an ATM was. So I'm like, well, do you have like an ATM then? But the guy just looked at me. So that was my introduction to Minneapolis.
Interesting. All right. So that, I guess, concludes Rapid Refresh and also Coach Justin's interview of myself. So lastly, how can they follow you on social media or reach you?
So our team accounts on Instagram, we have two different ones. One is more cross-country based and kind of goes into a slumber during the track season, is at the Apollo Distance Project. Our track account, which covers everything sprints to distance, is Apollo TF, or you just search up Apollo Track and Field. I'm pulling up my phone here because it's been a while since I looked at our Twitter ones. I do post on there, but Apollo_XC for cross country. And then for track itself, again, is at Apollo TF1.
Okay.
That's where we're mostly active. So follow us, follow our team. We're a very young team, but there's a lot of exciting kids coming through the program right now.
And then how about yourself? Do you want to shout that out?
I can do that as well. So my Instagram account is Darrow020, or you can look me up at jdarrow86. It'll pop up as well. Same thing as Facebook. I'm also on Twitter, jdarrow86. Follow me on there. Follow my Strava. You can add me on Strava. You can see my crazy runs and times and things like that. I'm going to try to take down Logan's mile time this weekend. I'm hopping in a 1 mile road race.
What are you aiming for?
Just breaking 5. However,
good luck with that.
Hey, I ran 450 in the full mile a couple of years ago at 34, so that's not too shabby.
Not bad.
I did find out from the meet organizer that the 2 top boys from my high school section are registered. They're 424, 425. So I'm going to
give them a run for their money.
They're going to be like, who's that guy with the frosted tips up here?
Okay, so if you made it this far, please leave a review, comment, tell me what you think of Justin and his philosophy. I post content every Sunday at noon on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, at Running Refresh. Shout out anybody listening to the podcast right now, and check out any past episodes. Subscribe for future episodes. Follow. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a rating. That's all I've got from me. Anything else you want to say?
No, it's been a pleasure, Logan. Thank you for having me on here, and good luck this indoor and outdoor season.
All right. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. Have a great Sunday.